What's up, guys? I'm going to have two plays, one in NHL, one in NBA. We got fairly packed card on this Wednesday. Bunch of the sports in action. Going to try to keep this brief. There are two more MAC games on national TV, I guess, and it's the dregs of the MAC. Who's going to want to watch this? Like, some of the worst teams in the worst conference. Ball State is at Bowling Green. Bowling Green's up to 5.5. Well, they are 5.5 at home, minus 5.5 point favorite. Ball State has 67% of the tickets, but only 61% of the cash. So the market read quickly kind of seems to be indicative that Bowling Green might be the right side there. I don't know. Bowling Green, they're off two straight wins, but it was against Buffalo, although Buffalo's been playing a bit better recently, and Akron, who's one of the worst teams in the MAC, one of the only winless teams, which I'll mention in a minute. Bowling Green's at least like middle of the pack, 500 team. So maybe they have the momentum right now. I don't know what else to say about that. Ball State, as I mentioned yesterday, is coming off that nice win over Central Michigan to get their first win in the MAC. That's not bad. They finally won that. That was off of playing Toledo pretty close. So they were able to turn around after a big game against Toledo and a tough way to lose there and actually play well and beat Central Michigan dramatically. So that's good. But now they're coming off that dramatic win and have to go on the road to Bowling Green. Slight lean would be to Bowling Green there. I would not want to take Ball State off of that nice win there, even though you could argue that maybe it's a momentum starter. I don't really know. The market, I would go with the market read there, plus Ball State coming off the bigger win. Not strong whatsoever. Neither of these games are anywhere near strong. It's a very slight lean there. The other game's Kent State at Akron. Akron's down from 4.5 to 4-point favorite at home. 84% of the tickets, but only 80% of the cash. So it actually looks like there's a reverse line movement on Kent going against Akron, the home favorite there. So I guess that's the way I would lean there because there's really no situation to really find here, I wouldn't say. Both of these teams are 0-4 in conference and 1-7 on the season. And in both cases, their one win is against an awful team at home. A team that's not even in FBS. Akron beat Morgan State and Kent State beat Central Connecticut State or whatever. So, both of these teams are probably pretty hungry to finally get that first win. They're both awful. Kent State just lost pretty badly to Buffalo. That doesn't look good. Akron got absolutely annihilated by Bowling Green. There's no situation to even read here. The market, like I said, looks like it's slightly indicating on the Kent State side. There's nothing else I can really say on that. That's all I got to say. I'm going to go to MLB now because I don't think I'm going to have a play on this. But I was right on yesterday being a high-scoring game. And these teams, man, this is so Texas won again 11-7, and they were winning 10-1 in that game for a large stretch of that game. Arizona scored all but one of their runs in the final 2 innings. So really, it was a pretty dominant game for the Rangers, really. As Mantiply only went like an inning, he got knocked out. Arizona, their bullpen is really in a bad state here, but Texas really had to use a lot of their relievers as well. Again, had to use Leclerc again for a second straight game, even though, I don't know why they even did that. They only brought him in for 1/3 of an inning, and he threw 10 pitches. Seemed like it was kind of unnecessary. I guess it was just because the game got a little bit dicey at the end and got close. Texas somehow managed to score 11 runs on only 11 hits, which is a bit wild. They actually got out-hit 12-11, but won the game 11-7. So now Texas is up 3-1, but we know that now Scherzer is shut down, so he's not going to be able to pitch if it gets to his next start. Which I think would be he would have been lined up to pitch Game 7, I believe. This is Game 5 tonight. He's not going to be there, and Adolis Garcia is, I guess, also out, and he's been on fire in the postseason. He's the Rangers' cleanup hitter. He's one of their best hitters, so he's out, although they apparently didn't need him to score 11 runs last night. Their offense is still quite good. But they're really not going to want to let this get to a game 7 where they won't be able to use Scherzer anymore and they'll be without Garcia. That is not the situation they want. They're going to need to end this game in the next 2 games where they have their actual starters being able to pitch, and one of them is tonight, which is we're at Arizona again for game 5 here before it shifts back to Texas. So Arizona is really kind of desperate. They really are going to need this game now. They've gone from a plus 100 dog to a minus 105 favorite. They have 64% of the Texas actually has 64% of the cash, but 59% of the tickets. So that is in conflict with where the where the market looks like it's moved, where the line has moved. Looks like the money, according to this according to these percentages, is on Texas, which doesn't, that doesn't coincide with where the line has moved, because the line has moved up a little bit in Arizona. So I don't know about that. I think probably coming off such a horrific game and now being in total desperation mode, I would think that there might be some money that comes in on Arizona because of that. Nathan Eovaldi is pitching for Texas. His stats are not good against the Diamondbacks career-wise. Lifetime stats against them: 302 opponent batting average, 19 for 63, although a 20-5 strikeout walk ratio. That's not bad. But 302 opponent batting average. He struggled against the Diamondbacks. He did not do well in game 1, I believe, of this series. In game 1, he went 4 2/3 and gave up 5 earned runs and 6 hits, even though he had an 8-1 strikeout walk ratio. So his command in the postseason has been good, but I don't know if it was just that he was putting way too many pitches over the plate or what it was, but he did give up a bunch of runs. Maybe he got somewhat unlucky in that one. But he's not done well against Arizona. He didn't do well in that first game against them, even though his stats have been good on the season. Zach Gallen's stats have also been good on the season. He's pitching for Arizona, but his stats against Texas are not that good. 28 for 101 lifetime are Texas's hitters against him, a 277 opponent batting average, but 29.6 strikeout walk ratio. That's not terrible. His first game was also game 1 of this series, and he only gave up 3 earned runs, so it makes it look like his start was actually better than Eovaldi's, even though Texas wound up winning that game. That was that dramatic walk-off win when Texas had a home run in the 9th to tie the game, and then a home run from Garcia, who's no longer playing, to win the game. But Gallen did not actually do that well. He was wild in that start. He walked 4 guys and struck out 5, so that strikeout walk ratio is terrible. That's indicating that he got a bit lucky in that start. And on the postseason, he has 13 walks and 18 strikeouts, and he's allowed 6 home runs. So he has not done well in the postseason this season. He didn't do well in the game against Texas. His line, as far as the earned runs go, make it look like he pitched better than he actually did in that game. So both of these pitchers, it doesn't look good for either one of these pitchers, really. And both bullpens are now, they've played 2 days in a row and have to play a 3rd straight day here. Bullpens have been taxed, have been used quite a bit. And the total here looks like it's gone down from over 8.5 minus 120 to over 8.5 minus 115, and it looks like there's 71% of the tickets, but only 67% of the cash on the over, so the market read is looking to be indicative of the under. No way I would like that, really, even though last night's game was high scoring. Both of these pitchers don't have good stats against the opposing lineups. Gallen especially has not been good in the postseason. If I was going to play this game at all, I would have to kind of look to the over again, even though I don't think it's as strong as it was yesterday. And both of these bullpens, like I said, they're pretty used up at this point. So that's the only way I would look in this game. There's not really, I don't have much of a read on this at all. Let's get to these plays real quick. NHL, one game that is like almost a play, I would say, is Arizona at Anaheim. Arizona's it looks like they've gone down now from a minus 124 road favorite to minus 120 on the money line. But it looks like they have 67% of the cash, but 57% of the tickets are on the other side on Anaheim. I think the feeling is, neither of these teams are that good, but I think the feeling is still that Arizona is like one of the worst teams in hockey, like they were last year. So it's kind of like, why? How are they a money line favorite on the road here? Well, part of it has to do with, and I would lean Arizona here. It's almost a game that I wanted to play, Arizona. So what we got going on here is the Ducks are in a pretty bad spot, one of the worst spots that you have in hockey here. They're returning home from a road trip, so that's not a good spot for the Ducks. And with only one day off, they went and they swept a 4-game road trip, which included winning in overtime at Boston, which is a pretty big win. But that was a situation where it was kind of like this road revenge. Road revenge angle where Boston had just gone into their house and beaten them. And Boston, I believe, I bet on this game actually and won on Anaheim because it was Boston returning from a road trip there, and it was that road revenge angle for Anaheim. So that kind of explains how Anaheim did that. Anaheim really lost that game pretty much. They scored twice to tie the game in the final 2 minutes and then won in overtime. So kind of a weird like defensive lapse in not much time at the end of that game for Boston. And then Anaheim also beat Pittsburgh to finish the road trip. Now they turn around one day off and they come home and face Arizona, and they have Vegas up next. The returning champs, although it's 4 days from now, so they have rest after this. But that's potentially a look ahead. Potentially they're kind of in a letdown spot after that road trip. Well, the one thing you don't want to do, really, if you're really cooking on a road trip, is to have to return home and deal with those distractions of returning home. That can be a momentum stopper as well as the distractions. So this is a bad spot for Anaheim for sure. So that's why I would only look to Arizona here. Arizona, they're coming off a blowout 8-1 win over Chicago, so that might make them look a little bit better than they are. And the other thing is that they did just beat Anaheim, even though it was at home, 2-1, like 10 or 11 days ago. So I don't know if that's really going to become a factor. It's kind of that, maybe Anaheim has that recent revenge angle a little bit to look at there, but that's really the only angle. That's the only thing that would like slightly give me pause on Arizona here. That and the fact that they won 2 nights ago in blowout fashion, but people probably won't put that much into that game because Chicago's not that good. So Anaheim's in a much worse spot, though, on the return home from the road trip. And the game I will be playing in the NHL is St. Louis Blues plus 1.5 on the puck line. I like the Blues here. Colorado's gone down on the money line a little bit from minus 245 to minus 235 with 59% of the cash on St. Louis, but 80% of the tickets on Colorado because Colorado is obviously going to be the public team. Colorado's returning from a road trip, although it's a shorter road trip, 3 games. They lost the last 2 games on the road trip in Pittsburgh and Buffalo, both 4-0. So I think people are going to tend to look at this and be like, well, Colorado's a great team, one of the best teams in hockey. They were undefeated before that, so they're going to return home, and that's going to help them out. They do have 2 days off in this situation, but I don't think so. I think this is a distraction spot on the return home. I think that thought is wrong, that they're going to just immediately bounce back when they have those home return distractions to have to deal with. And what do they have up next? They have Vegas up next as well. So that's going to be a look ahead. That's on Saturday. That's in 3 days. I think that is a look ahead because they're considered to be maybe the top 2 teams in the entire Western Conference. So they have the return home distractions and a look ahead spot. And St. Louis is coming off a bad blowout loss at Vancouver, 5-0. So if anything, they're going to have to be in a bounce-back spot here. And this is their final game on the road trip. It's against a big opponent, and they're looking to pull even on the road trip to 2-2. So that's a little bit of a motivating factor there as well. I like St. Louis. The market looks like it's indicating on them in reverse line movement against the public, which I always like to see. They're a big dog, so I took the puck line plus 1.5 at minus 115 and sprinkled a little bit on the money line. So that's how I play that when they're a bigger underdog. That's St. Louis. And now NBA really quickly. I'm going to have one play here. I don't know if there are any real leans that I have here. I probably lean to the Kings slightly against the Warriors. They have 81% of the tickets, but 50% of the cash, so it does look like there is more money on the Kings, and they're, of course, going to be the less public team than the Warriors. Everybody likes the Warriors, even though the Warriors have been maybe struggling a little bit, but this is a situation where the Warriors just went into Sacramento and beat the Kings in their house. So, and that was a repeat of last year's playoff series where the Warriors, I believe, eliminated the Kings from the playoffs last year. So it's going to almost be like double revenge for the Kings here. And they're getting 7 points. So that's like the only way that I would look in that spot would be to Sacramento and Golden State. I don't know if they have anything upcoming. But yeah, the only way I would look to that, look in that game is to Sacramento. Yeah, they have Oklahoma City. That's not really that big of a look ahead. But whatever there. That's the only way I would look in that one. And then the game I am going to actually play, I don't know if I have any other stronger leans here, but got to cut this short anyway. The game I'm actually going to play is the Cleveland Cavs plus 6.5. Or you might be able to wait and get 7, really, because it looks like it might be teetering on the 7, which is somewhat of a key number in NBA, in basketball, a little bit, just because it's when you hit that threshold of a 3-score game, and that's when teams tend to stop intentionally fouling. The Cavs have 86% of the cash, but only 54% of the tickets, so it looks like more of the money is on the Cavs. And the reason I like this so much is these teams just played last night. The Knicks went into Cleveland as a 2.5-point favorite, so this number is sort of just kind of in line with that number. It hasn't really been skewed because of yesterday's results, which if it was, it would put even more value on the Cavs, but I think there's probably value to be had on the Cavs anyway. The Knicks went in and they wound up kind of finishing with a blowout win against the Cavs, but that game was close until like midway through the second half when the Knicks really kind of started to pull away there. It was a lot closer than I think it was closer than the final score indicated, at least. Even though the Knicks wound up winning kind of in dominant fashion when all was said and done. So now you have this quick, with no time off, a quick road reversal revenge angle here with the NBA with these weird scheduling situations. They set up these situations where these teams have the home and home, and they play right away, back-to-back days, back-to-back days, and if the road team wins the first game, it becomes kind of a strong play to play that team that just lost at home, having that really quick revenge against the team that just beat them in their own house. Now they get to go into that team's house and try to beat them. And it's like getting away from home is actually good. It actually helps them. Whereas the team that just won on the road, they're now returning home with no time off. So they get that like return home distraction angle kind of in play there. Whereas the team that just lost at home, they get to get out of there and kind of shed some of those distractions and go on the road. And if anything, there's going to be a little bit of value on that team that just lost at home, because people are going to, why would anybody want to take that team when they just saw them lose at home? It's like, well, the Knicks are 6.5 now. They covered that on the road at the Cavs, so why wouldn't they be able to win by at least 6.5 at home playing that same team? That's like the wrong way of thinking about it. That's why I like a spot like this so much. And I believe the Knicks have a look ahead to Milwaukee, I believe is who they have up next. So that's a look ahead to one of the best teams in the conference. So I don't think this is a very good spot for the Knicks at all. So that's it, really. I think it's a strong situation. Market seems to agree with me, at least at this point, on the Cleveland Cavs, plus 6.5. If you can get 7, do that, obviously. 2 plays, once again, are the St. Louis Blues in hockey, plus 1.5 on the puck line at minus 115, with a little sprinkle on the money line. And in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavs, plus 6.5 or plus 7. Do it. Let's continue this hot streak, baby. We've been hot recently.